Welcome to the Mind Spark, bringing you the latest news from around the world tonight. American economic policy has been rocked by a Supreme Court decision with global consequences. The court struck down former President Trump's sweeping tariff plan, a key pillar of his America First agenda. This ruling redefines the balance of power between the presidency and Congress, raising urgent questions about who controls U.S. economic policy. Trump's plan aimed to impose blanket tariffs on imports, sparking fierce debate and uncertainty for businesses and consumers alike. The court's decision doesn't just block a policy, it ignites a political and economic firestorm that will shape the future of American trade. Markets, businesses, and global partners are bracing for the fallout. The separation of powers is being tested as never before. The world is watching, and the stakes for American trade policy have never been higher. To truly understand today's Supreme Court ruling, we need to look back at the roots of Trump's America First economic agenda and his long-standing reliance on tariffs as a central tool of economic nationalism. From the very start of his political career, Trump made it clear that he believed tariffs could protect American jobs and industries from what he saw as unfair foreign competition. During his presidency, Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a wide range of Chinese goods. These measures sparked a global trade war, leading to retaliatory tariffs from other countries and a wave of legal challenges both at home and abroad. The tariffs were controversial, with supporters arguing they revived struggling industries, while critics warned of higher prices and economic uncertainty. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress, not the President, the explicit power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. However, over the decades, Congress has passed laws that delegate some of this authority to the executive branch, allowing presidents to act swiftly in times of perceived economic threat or national emergency. In March 2025, Trump unveiled his most ambitious plan yet, a universal tariff on nearly all imports, regardless of their origin. This proposal went far beyond any previous actions, signaling a dramatic escalation in his approach to trade policy and raising immediate concerns across the political spectrum. Major U.S. businesses, multinational corporations, and influential trade groups quickly filed lawsuits, arguing that the plan represented an unconstitutional overreach of presidential power and threatened to destabilize the global trading system. The resulting case, U.S. Chamber of Commerce vs. Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, moved rapidly through the federal court system. Lower courts were deeply divided, reflecting the contentious nature of the issue and the high stakes involved. Plaintiffs warned that the tariffs could trigger an economic catastrophe, leading to job losses, higher consumer prices, and market instability. Meanwhile, the government defended the plan as essential for national security and protecting American interests in an increasingly competitive world. The unprecedented scope and scale of Trump's universal tariff proposal made it especially difficult to defend in court, raising complex questions about the limits of presidential authority and the future of American trade policy. All of this set the stage for a historic showdown at the Supreme Court, with the nation watching closely as justices weighed the balance of power between Congress and the president. Today's decision is the culmination of years of escalating conflict and debate over the proper limits of presidential power on trade and the role of Congress in shaping America's economic destiny. The outcome of this case will have far-reaching consequences, shaping how the United States approaches global commerce, international partnerships, and economic competition for years, if not decades, to come. The stakes could not be higher for American businesses, workers, and consumers, all of whom will feel the impact of this landmark decision in their daily lives and livelihoods. On July 29, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a decisive 6-3 verdict. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that Trump's universal tariff plan exceeded the authority Congress granted the executive branch. The court ruled that broad, economy-wide tariffs are legislative actions, reserved for Congress under the Commerce Clause. The majority opinion warned that allowing unilateral executive action would erode the separation of powers. Dissenting justices favored more presidential leeway, but the majority held firm. Trump responded with a fiery statement, calling the decision a betrayal and vowing to fight on. Markets surged as businesses welcomed the return of stability. Polls showed Americans split, reflecting deep partisan divides. The ruling is now a flashpoint in the ongoing battle over the limits of executive power. The constitutional boundaries of trade policy have been redrawn. Trump wasted no time, holding a press conference at Mar-a-Lago within an hour of the ruling. The atmosphere was tense, with reporters crowding the room and cameras flashing as he stepped up to the podium, determined to seize the narrative before anyone else could. He launched into a scathing attack on the Supreme Court, accusing the justices of siding with globalists and betraying the interests of American workers. Trump's words were sharp, his tone unmistakably combative, as he claimed the court had turned its back on the very people it was meant to protect. Trump personalized his attacks, insisting the court ignored the struggles of families facing lost jobs and rising costs. He painted a vivid picture of economic hardship, describing parents worried about paying bills and workers fearing for their futures, all while the court, in his view, looked the other way. He vowed to keep fighting, turning what could have been a legal defeat into a powerful rallying cry for his base. Trump's defiance electrified the crowd, transforming frustration into renewed determination. Trump framed the decision as a victory for China and a devastating blow to U.S. manufacturing. He warned that American factories would suffer, jobs would be lost, and foreign competitors would benefit at the expense of hardworking Americans. He promised to make the ruling a central issue in the next election, urging Congress to restore presidential trade authority. Trump called on lawmakers to stand with American workers and reverse what he described as a disastrous decision. The performance was classic Trump: populist outrage, personal attacks, and a call to action. He skillfully blended anger with hope, channeling his supporters' frustration into a sense of purpose. He ended by urging supporters not to despair, promising, "We will win." His words echoed through the hall, leaving his audience energized and ready for the battles ahead. Conservative media quickly amplified his message, repeating his talking points and energizing his base. Pundits praised his defiance, framing him as a champion for the forgotten American worker. The political fallout is guaranteed to be intense and prolonged. Lawmakers on both sides are already preparing for heated debates, and the issue is set to dominate headlines for weeks, if not months, to come. Trump's response ensures the tariff debate will remain at the heart of American politics. The question of who controls trade policy and who benefits will be fiercely contested in the public arena. The legal battle may be over, but the political war is just beginning. Both parties are gearing up for a prolonged fight, with the stakes higher than ever. The country is bracing for the next round. Across America, people are watching anxiously, knowing that the decisions made now will shape the nation's future for years to come. The economic reaction was immediate and dramatic. Stock markets rallied, especially in sectors threatened by tariffs: retail, tech, and automotive. Companies reliant on imports saw their shares soar, relieved by the end of tariff uncertainty. However, domestic steel and aluminum producers saw their stocks plunge, losing the protection tariffs would have provided. The split reaction highlights the deep divisions in the U.S. economy. The dollar strengthened, signaling investor confidence in American institutions. Bond yields ticked up, reflecting optimism about growth without a trade war. U.S. allies welcomed the decision, hoping for more stable trade relations. Small businesses, however, remain wary after months of costly uncertainty. Many demand long-term clarity from Washington. As one CEO put it, "We can't run a business on a roller coaster." The need for predictable policy has never been clearer. The Supreme Court's decision has deepened America's political divide, sending shockwaves through both the public and the nation's leadership. The ruling quickly became a lightning rod for debate, with emotions running high on all sides. Democrats and moderate Republicans hailed the ruling as a victory for the Constitution and economic stability, arguing that it reaffirmed the checks and balances at the heart of American democracy. Many saw it as a crucial step to prevent economic uncertainty and protect consumers from rising costs. The Senate Majority Leader declared, "Today the Constitution won." He emphasized that the decision would help restore faith in the rule of law and the nation's institutions, calling it a win for all Americans who value stability and fairness. Trump's allies in Congress erupted in outrage, accusing the court of betraying American workers and siding with China. They argued that the decision would hurt American manufacturing and cost jobs, fueling anger among their base. Social media lit up with partisan attacks, fueling the firestorm. Hashtags trended nationwide as people argued fiercely online, and political commentators debated the implications late into the night. In the Rust Belt, some saw the tariffs as a lifeline for struggling industries and felt abandoned by the decision. For many workers, the ruling represented another blow to their hopes for economic revival. "Trump was the only one fighting for us," said a retired steelworker, echoing the frustration felt by many in manufacturing towns who believe their livelihoods are at stake. In suburbs and cities, many expressed relief, fearing higher prices and economic turmoil if the tariffs had remained. For these Americans, the court's intervention brought a sense of security and hope for more stable household budgets. "I'm glad the court stepped in," said a mother in Atlanta, reflecting the concerns of families worried about the cost of everyday goods and the broader impact on the economy. The ruling has become a new flashpoint in America's ongoing cultural and economic divide, highlighting the stark differences between urban and rural communities and between different regions of the country. Both sides are mobilizing for the next political battle, organizing rallies, launching campaigns, and preparing for upcoming elections where trade and executive power will be key issues. The debate over trade and executive power is far from settled. Lawmakers are already drafting new proposals, and the issue promises to remain at the forefront of national politics. The nation remains as polarized as ever, with Americans deeply divided over the path forward and the future of the country's economic and political landscape. Legal and economic experts call this a landmark moment for American governance. Constitutional scholars say the ruling reasserts Congress's primary role in trade policy. Economists warn the proposed tariffs would have triggered global retaliation and inflation. The decision is seen as a win for stability and a rules-based global order. Political analysts believe Congress may now reclaim some of its lost authority. The court's message trade policy is Congress's job, not the president's alone. The ruling doesn't end the debate over trade but clarifies who decides. The responsibility now lies squarely with Congress. The Supreme Court's decision sent ripples across the globe. U.S. allies in Europe and Asia welcomed the ruling, seeing it as a return to rules-based trade. Germany and Japan expressed hope for renewed economic dialogue. China's response was cautious, but analysts see the ruling as a strategic win for Beijing. The decision strengthens the case for multilateralism and the World Trade Organization. It signals that sweeping unilateral trade actions face legal hurdles in the U.S. Yet, America's trading partners remain wary, knowing U.S. policy can shift quickly. The forces driving protectionism in the U.S. are still strong. Foreign governments will watch closely as American politics evolve. Relief is real, but uncertainty remains. The era of trade volatility is far from over. The Supreme Court didn't pick sides on trade, it chose the Constitution. The ruling draws a clear line around executive power, putting Congress back at the center of economic policy making. Trump has turned the defeat into a rallying cry, fueling further polarization. The pressure now shifts to Congress. Will lawmakers debate America's trade future, or retreat into partisanship? This is a test for democracy and the nation's economic direction. The court's message is clear. Answers must come from Congress, not unilateral action. The story is just beginning. The decision is a call to action for every citizen. In a democracy, ultimate power rests with the people. Stay informed, stay engaged, and make your voice heard. The future of American trade and democracy depends on it.